How do you find really great builders for your home extension project and avoid the Cowboys? My name's Francis. Welcome to the Home Extension Guide. Now, last week I shared with you the first part of the answer to this question, which is a question I get asked a lot. How do we find the right builders to build our extension for us, and how do we avoid hiring complete cowboys? Now, I started by showing you what you need your builders to do for you aside from the building work, which is to give you a quote rather than an estimate. For that quote to be comparable with your other quotes, they need to be great at communicating and willing to draw up a detailed contract with you before the building work starts. Now, in this video, I'm going to share with you the surprisingly simple answer to finding and choosing really great builders who will do all of these things for you. The simple thing you need to do in order to find great builders is to interview them. You need to interview face-to-face each of the builders that you're considering. Now, this is something that doesn't happen nearly often enough. And the reason it doesn't happen is because homeowners feel like they're on the back foot. They're at the mercy of the builders, and they need to be nice. Not ask too many questions, not be too demanding. Otherwise, builders just don't want to work with them, which is true to an extent. But if a builder is not willing to meet with you and answer your questions about your project, so you get a chance to assess them, for all the things that you're looking for, all those qualities aside from the building work, then you basically don't want to be working with them. Now, it's difficult because builders are incredibly busy, and what you're asking for is some of their precious time, often outside of working hours, and you're not offering to pay them at this stage. But think about it the other way around. From your perspective, let's imagine for a moment that you're a business owner. Would you hire someone to carry out a really important contract on your company's most valuable asset, a contract worth tens of thousands of pounds, without interviewing them first and asking them lots of questions? Of course you wouldn't. That'd be crazy. But that is what happens. Homeowners often hire builders without an interview, having only met them very briefly, which is crazy when you stop and think about it. So when you do interview your potential builders, there are a number of things that you need to ask them. For example, do they use a contract? Can they give you a timescale for your project? So you can plan for when major disruption is going to happen, like when a wall gets taken out to join the new extension space into your existing home. You also need to ask them questions like, are they insured? Do they have the right insurance? Are they members of a trade association? Does their work come with a guarantee or a warranty? Do they use subcontractors or do they employ all their own staff? Do they charge VAT? That's a really important one to ask. And when are they available, realistically? These are just some of the questions that you need to ask all of your potential builders in order to make a choice. And the final question is, please can you give me a quote based on these plans? Then you give them a copy of your plans and your detailed written brief of exactly what you're asking them to quote for, so that you get comparable quotes back from each of them. Now, when it comes to assessing who to choose, there are three main criteria to use. The first one is communication, which is everything. It's their email communication, how they are on the telephone, if you spoke to them, how they were face-to-face. How did you feel about them answering your questions? And a really good one to ask yourself is, do you feel like you could resolve a dispute with that builder? How do you think that would go? Because as much as that's not what you want to happen, it is a very likely scenario that there'll be an issue that will need sorting out at some point during the build. And do you feel like you could do that effectively, comfortably with those builders? All of that's communication. And for me, that's the most important one. If any of that is a no, then regardless of almost anything else, you've got to cross them off your list. The second one is availability, which may or may not be a key factor for you, but realistically, when are they available? And are they able to book you in for a date that works with your schedule? Now, the third one is cost, because you can find all these great builders, but when it comes down to it, your budget is probably finite. So is what they're quoting you within your budget? And how does it compare to the other builders who've quoted? The final thing you want to do before you decide who to go with is to check out how good their building work actually is. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do that. The starting point for this, and what I encourage all my clients to do, is to start with recommendations. I assume that's obvious, but if it's not, you want to get recommendations for builders from people you trust, friends, neighbors, colleagues, your architect, etc. Once you've done that, the first place to check them out is online. Look at their website, their social media, what they're posting. Look for reviews, written reviews on Facebook or Google or Trustpilot. And finally, what you really want is to speak to and ideally visit one or two of their past clients or even their current clients who they're actually working for right now to see, what they're doing, how they work, and have a chat with that client face to face and ask them about their experience. If you do all of these things, it will give you a really good idea of what each of those builders are actually like to work with. If you check out their previous work, talk to their clients, read their reviews, you interview them, you get comparable quotes, and you draw up a detailed contract with them before the work starts. It means that when it comes to the actual building work, your experience is going to be really straightforward. Your builders will be great to work with. You're not going to be worrying about them. Their communication will be, brilliant. They're going to keep asking you questions to make sure that they're doing exactly what you want. They're going to be happy with you asking them questions, even if you think they're daft. They're going to help you when problems arise. They're going to help you make decisions and solve those problems. And you're going to know exactly how much you're paying them. So there's no uncertainty about cost. And overall, your stress levels will be low, which is what you're looking for. Because if you don't follow these steps and you end up hiring some dodgy cowboy builders, you will regret it. And your experience will be the exact opposite. They won't turn up when they say they will. They won't answer your calls. They'll ask for more money. Your costs will escalate. The work will take miles longer than expected. The quality of the finish will be poor, or they might not even finish the job. And they will be incredibly stressful to work with. And you may not end up with the space you actually want. So choosing the right builders for your project is probably the most important decision that you're going to make. Now, don't forget to check out the link to building contracts below this video. These are contract templates you can use when hiring your builders. And if you found this helpful today, then like and subscribe for more home extension advice. Take care.